Hey there everybody, and welcome back to the Utsuki portion of Kuon. Now we do have quite a bit of ground to cover today. I'm actually wanting to finish up the mansion portion. First though, we want to make sure we don't draw any unnecessary attention. I'm just going to let this ghost pass on by. But since we are on the opposing side of the mansion, we do have plenty of doors that we can explore, and thankfully we already have plenty of the sacred cloths to open up those doors. First though, I think these look kind of like claw marks. It would have to be some massive thing to cause such large claw marks, but we can only hope we don't run into whatever caused them. But yeah, we might as well go ahead and check in here. And we venture into a room which looks like it had a pretty bloodied battle. Plenty of spears and broken bows laying around on the ground, and lots of blood. Always so much blood. But it does look like we have another piece of reading material from the seer, who I assume was another priest here. Pretty much just reaffirming the fact that these spikes are very important to suppressing the gakis and demons. Now wouldn't you know it, right over here we actually do have a spike embedded into the pillar. And it mentions that we need a tool to remove it. Thankfully we already have that tool, which was the pliers we picked up before. But it appears that that warning was kind of a pun of sorts, because actually it was suppressing a gaki in this very room by holding a rope in place. Now normally it's not really necessary to fight this particular gaki. It can easily be evaded, but well, this one decided to block our path pretty steadily. But we can now grab our second demon suppressing spike. That means we only actually need one more to, well, if I remember correctly, we're going to need to open up a shrine door. And that almost looked like someone dressed like Korea. Definitely sounded like the crunching of flesh and bone. Now I can only assume from the massive amounts of blood what might have gone on. But our pathway down this direction is blocked off.
Good.
And we get a rather nasty surprise if we do happen to investigate that hole, as you just saw. Thankfully, nothing actually attacks us directly out of the hole, so I guess good luck for that. And we finally make our way to the starting point for where the other character started their playthrough. Actually does have a Gaki waiting for us somewhere off screen. But for those of you that are curious if Utsuki can just escape from the manor, obviously not. We have a job to do in finding our sister and father. But the real reason to actually come down into this carriage area is where the carriages are themselves. There are a few spell cards to pick up, such as a new one here, the Tsuchi Jogo. This is actually a rather interesting summon card in that it's actually kind of a stationary trap, but it really only has use against one particular enemy that we'll be seeing much later on. We also get plenty more spider summons, which really will be getting a lot more than we'll ever use. And the thing to keep in mind is the fact that you can only ever have one summon out at a time, so it's not like you can really spam spiders out or anything like that. But as we hear the ghostly plucking of strings, it almost gives the festive atmosphere that must have once been here in this rather large spring pavilion. There are quite a few items we need to pick up. But we also do need to be a little careful. Oh, and what do we have here but the Seal of Earth that we actually gave to Sakuya pretty early on in the game. I hope she's actually okay. We also get the second guardian dog statue, which means we can go and complete that other puzzle. But the reason we actually do want to be careful in this pavilion is, well, there's a bit of a trap. Yeah, if you happen to run and nudge against any of these little food trays, there's a good chance they'll tip over and attract a tempest and a ghost. It can be kind of a nasty scare if you're rushing about. But as we head back to the mansion proper, there is another door that I want to go ahead and check out over this direction. We actually could have checked this door out a little bit earlier, but there was a door in here locked by the Seal of Earth that we could, well, pretty much open now. But we can find another vessel. Also, on the far end of the room, there is, well, a rather interesting piece of reading material. And it goes a bit into the well, relationship between a servant and Ayako. And I guess the servant wanted to be nice to Ayako and gave her some silkworm eggs. Now, I haven't really been bringing it up, but, well, apparently around this manor are quite a few mulberry trees, and I guess silkworms love mulberry leaves. So that means that there are actually quite a few silkworms around the manor. But as of yet, we won't really learn about these silkworms more, or their relevance to the story, for quite some time. But there aren't really too many items in here. Just another vessel, and some more spell cards, but they are very nice spell cards because they actually give us the upgraded fire spell, Hyen? We'll actually be seeing those later in this update because, trust me, we will be running into some rather nasty combat. For now, though, we actually want to head back to that Zodiac door puzzle and to finish up with the guardian dog statue. The thing is that it actually makes us walk by where we saw that shadowy figure before, and we find a spell card waiting for us in this, well, very bloodied bed. Can only assume what might have happened. Yep, we can go ahead and use our other guardian dog statue. And we can find out what our nice reward is. And it happens to be our second disc, and also a constellation map. This is actually used for, I think, that 3-ring puzzle we already solved. There actually is a second riddle scroll that we'll be getting for that later on. But for right now, well, let's see. We've actually explored quite a few places. The only places left are that 2 and 3 door there near the Lord's Suite. So let's go ahead and skip over that way. I'll just leave our munching friend here. He's been pretty nice to ignore us. Except I guess he decided to stop ignoring. And wow, I can't believe I actually haven't used a spell card. But I decided we were sitting on quite a few Habari. One thing that actually becomes quite a bit annoying is if you do want to get that finishing blow off, and while Habaris haven't done the job and, well, you don't have access to your dagger, it becomes necessary to go in, switch out a spell card. It's kind of frustrating. But if we follow these bloody footprints, they actually lead us directly back to that large sealed door with the message about, well, Igaki not being on the other side, but something much worse. Instead, though, I want to go ahead and search in these servants' quarters. Because we actually find, well, the clue to that Zodiac door that we found a while ago. Really, they kind of expected you to do a lot of backtracking for the mansion, but honestly, these puzzles are not that hard to solve. You also get some more Suchi Jogo cards. Those are actually fairly powerful for a fairly dangerous enemy. we are now in that blocked off area of the Lord's Suite we couldn't get to before. Yeah, even though that message mentioned that whatever was on the other side of the door was definitely not a Gaki, well, maybe it meant that there were something more dangerous and Gakis? Well, at least he was nice enough to unblock the way that we need to go. What do we have here? Another one of those large wicker chests that we have seen before. The one we saw before, though, had Dolman smashing a corpse into it. This one, though, is mysteriously empty. And also a trap. Yeah, this room is just completely here as a rather annoying little trap. But just to double check, I wasn't sure if there was an item down this way, but there is not. So let's go ahead and check out what's inside this sealed up door. Was that a bell? No, it was just a violent tempest. But, I don't know, maybe there's a... Well, our way out is blocked. But yeah, maybe there is a way out through that open window. And say hello to our first boss, the mangled and possessed corpse of Lord Fujiwara. This will be a good time to use both our stronger fire spell and Saiga. For one thing, Saiga does a lot of damage. Well, we're actually not going to be getting any more Saiga cards for the rest of the game. So our one last one, well, we're going to have to use for a very special situation. Now, Lord Fujiwara is not only very fast, he is also very damaging. He can pretty much kill you in 2 hits, and, well, as we'll see in a second, he is extremely fast. Thankfully, though, Saiga actually did quite... Well, he pretty much did all the damage there. But with the Lord Fujiwara dead, I'm actually pretty sure you could check his corpse for some text. But yeah, with him dead, we can now snatch the bell. And that means now we should hopefully be able to talk to Ayako. Yeah, that text I was thinking about, you actually have to snatch the bell first. But for some mysterious reason, the bamboo has now gone away from the door. Was extremely grotesque for one thing, but I don't know. I mean, could that have been Korea? But I'm pretty sure this message wasn't here before. Oh jeez. Yeah, this is our first fight with a new enemy. This particular type of enemy is called a Yamabeto, or loosely translated, it means, I think, mountain people. They have kind of a weird history in Japan. Apparently during the, I think, Jomon period, well, some rather primitive people were apparently driven into the mountains of Japan by the more civilized folk. Maybe something akin to hillbillies, I'm not really for certain. But I guess these mountain people kind of got angry and, well, the history on them is a bit sketchy, but apparently they were known to steal people in the night. It was, well, the English term for it was called spirited away, for those of you who recall the Miyazaki anime. It was actually a familiar idea where children were apparently snatched away in the night by either gods or demons and never heard from again. Yeah, in this servant's quarters here we find a rather bloodied up corpse of a defeated Gaki. I wonder who could have done that. That question is quickly answered, but I do not feel like fighting that possessed priest. They are actually very quick, very dangerous. That is definitely not the area where we want to be fighting one of those. It is very good to point out the fact that I would say almost 80 to 90% of the combat in Kuon can actually be easily avoided. Though that means you could possibly miss out on a lot of healing items and vessels, but they're actually not really that necessary. But now that we are here, let's go ahead and use our new bell.
I sense an evil, a presence wanting to devour souls.
I have no idea, but for some time now, I've been hearing a song at nightfall. And disease has spread through this place. The hungry, they roam the manor at night. Then, when I hear that song, I fear I'll be killed, or worse, abducted.
We found you.
And just like that, Ayako is quickly grabbed by, yet again, what looks to be Utsuki's sister. Hopefully we can still manage to save Ayako, but at least while we're in here, we can grab the items we came for, which was that spike. So there is a little bit of reading material here. This is actually the second volume involving silkworms. Just goes a bit more into their basic life cycle. Apparently they enjoy, well, just primarily eating and sleeping and, well, growing rather quickly. Apparently they managed to grow to their maximum potential in 9 to 10 days. At least that's what the game seems to allude to. But as to why they're focusing so much on silkworms, yet again, it'll make more sense later on. But for now, actually, I think, no, we are actually still missing one disc. And I'm actually fairly certain I know where that disc is. So, I think without further ado, we should head over that direction. But I think while we head over there, since we managed to kill one Fujiwara and get another one kidnapped, it might be good to talk a little bit more about the Fujiwara clan themselves. And this is what I meant by, well, a rather odd event queue. For that furniture to be moved out of the way, I'm not actually sure what specifically triggers it, if it's Ayako being taken or just at some point in the game this furniture manages to get moved out of the way. But yeah, the Fujiwara clan actually dominated Japanese politics for pretty much all of the Heian period, which, as I stated before, was about 400 years. Also a rather nasty trap there. Pretty much manages us to easily get caught between a rock and a hard place with this Yamabeto here. Normally, to fight a Yamabeto, since they have a lot more health than a Gaki, and actually do quite a bit more damage than a Gaki, it's normally best to get a lot of room between you and the Yamabeto, and just pelt them from afar with your Habari, or whatever good spell cards you have. But as you can tell in this fishing hut, well, it's not, the best for line of sight. But yeah, the Fujiwara clan managed to gain a lot of power through a rather odd means, well, at least odd to my American sensibilities, which was, at the time, an emperor could either be, well, a bit too young, incontinent, any number of reasons, and, well, a council of sorts could be set up to take on the power that was needed to run the country. These were normally called regents, or I think the Japanese term for it was Sesaho and Kampuku, which I'm sorry to be mispronouncing. But yeah, they managed to garner a lot of power from a very, very young emperor, and, well, they managed to hold on to that power and form their own little form of government through the intermarrying of other young emperors and things like that. And, well, they managed to run the country rather well for all of that 400 years. But yeah, for those with a good eye, you might have noticed that there was a rather shiny object on the shore over here. We want to go investigate. we now get our first real fight with a possessed priest. You can see just how quick they are, how aggressive they can be. And I was trying to get a good opportunity to at least give the Tsurugumo a chance to shine. But really, it's best just to rely on your Hibari and, well, keep them stun locked as best you can. You can definitely see, though, that all the 50 or 60 Hibari we had have quickly been cut in half by just a few fighting encounters. But that does mean we can now find out, well, what those two were guarding. At least whatever was over here didn't appear to be wearing red like Korea. But this is actually the second riddle scroll that you could use to solve that 3-wheel puzzle. You also get another new spell card that I can honestly say is almost completely useless. It's only good for killing already weakened enemies, and even then it's pretty hard to judge when an enemy is in a weakened state. But for now, though, let's leave the fishing hut behind. And not even worry about this Yamabeto, because we have that one last disc to pick up, which was at this small shrine that we passed by way earlier in the game. So we get our last disc and some more Hibari. And that means we can now head back to that that other shrine and find out what is behind the door. But as we make our way back, we notice that it seems like quite a few corpses we ran across before have apparently been dragged into the water. We run into a new and actually fairly annoying enemy that the game calls a Mizuhiki. I think that these are supposed to be, Japanese mermaids, which I think are called Ningyo, or human fish. They have quite a few number of annoying attacks, such as an AoE splash and a long distance poison attack. And as you saw there, they can also grab you. Honestly, well, you can actually avoid this encounter altogether by not going over to the water. And in the end, it's best to not even fight them in the first place, because it's going to take quite a few spell cards. But before we head over to the shrine door, we actually have one more other door to check up here. You might have remembered a Gaki was beating on this door before, trying to get in. after reading this message, we get the, well, idea that I guess the Gaki smelled the flesh inside, and this guy actually managed to barricade himself in before being eaten. At least he got his wish, I suppose. But this right here is just giving us, well, kind of the riddle to solve, well, the shrine entrance. Or that door that we're going to need to open with the discs and the spikes. It may not make a lot of sense now, but it will whenever we actually see the puzzle. So what we have here are a number of discs that are already in place, and we use the descriptions of the, I guess, progression of being eaten. So in this case, well, the silkworm becomes the spider gets eaten by the rat, the larvae get eaten by the crow, and that just leaves the old man disc. But I think for right now we have covered quite enough of the mansion, so I'm going to go ahead and save here and say see you next time for more Kuon.